to the world. Subscribe now to the Hot 97 YouTube channel. It's Ebro in the Morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg.
Ebro, Laura Rosenberg, and Rhapsody back on the show.
Yeah.
What's up? I'm back with the family.
Big rap.
She got a new single, a new journey that you're on with ESPN, Dust to Diamonds. Tell us about this whole project.
Okay, so Title IX's 50th anniversary is coming up, and it's a law that was passed that made it equal for women to play sports in school. If you didn't, if they were publicly funded anyway, so you know it gave women in sports an opportunity. So I made a record, a theme song, just push the celebration, highlight women in sports, what the journey, what it looks like, So yeah, Dust the Diamonds.
We as we're having this conversation, we are dealing with the news that just came in about what's happening at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, we discussed it today. I don't know. While everybody was, their eyes were glued to the Met Gala,
Right.
all of a sudden, boom, it pops out that there was a leaked Supreme Court document that suggested that a vote will overturn Roe versus Wade.
Yeah. Just came in last night, this morning. And now it's a leaked document from one of the justices.
Samuel Alito. And this was, the date for it is, it was dated February 10th. So it's not a new one, but it was a leaked document. So that's one part of it.
That's
crazy. Ebro and I were discussing that we believe that whoever leaked it knew how crazy this was.
Right.
And it was important for everyone to see what was happening and how close they are to getting this done.
Why would they do it?
No,
They've been working. Well, no.
I'm
glad you're asking that question. This is something that has been being worked on by the religious right for what? 50 years?
I mean, since Roe v. Wade.
Since Roe v. Wade.
So
Like they have been positioning. That's
that.
the whole history of, how like they think Trump's the savior?
Right.
Remember that whole, you heard that? Like he's our savior. That's what that is a part of. That he's the one that's going to get the things across the line that they find important.
Yo, that's wild.
So when people, and we've been talking about voting and talking about all these things all day, but it just sparked in my brain because this obviously was a big initiative. Title IX was huge, right? Roe v. Wade was huge. But these are laws that can be overturned if you don't participate in the process of making sure people are in there to appoint judges and make sure this shit doesn't get taken away.
Absolutely.
And if this goes through, it's layers, right? Because it's a very complex situation. It's also going to weaken other arguments for women's right to contraceptives.
Right.
And eventually they'll end up falling into LGBTQ rights.
And
it's all based on religious BS.
It's crazy.
It's really.
And we thought we would impart that on you because you're somebody that comes to the table with amazing lyrics, a purpose. When you put out music, this project, Dust to Diamonds, once again showing not only your skill set in making records, but how committed you are to making sure that you put on for being a dope-ass woman out here doing dope shit. And I'm sure that burden gets heavy at times.
Yeah,
where people kind of like always, what's Rapsody got
hold
to
on.
say?
I don't know if you've heard me say this before. I've now said it in multiple interviews with other women rappers. You are like the default when people talk about women's hip hop. They'll be like, yeah, a lot of sex talk, and Rapsody. It's almost, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like it gets put on you that like
the gift and the curse.
Yeah, but is it a gift and a curse for you? And do you understand? Like, am I wrong for having that assessment that it seems like people always just throw you in as the counter to everything else?
More times than not. I've learned not to say always and never, but more times than not. Like, I keep my ear to the street and I see it and I see people say like, y'all say it so much I don't even want to check her out. And I don't necessarily want to be the this but Rapsody, but at the same time I understand what I mean to the culture of diversity and how important that is, right? So it's just, I guess for me it's like, how do we find a balance? But I'm not the only one, right? So I don't know.
Well, that's another part that's crappy about it is that you're not the only one. So on top of that, but you're the only one who gets mentioned,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, and it's interesting. How did that happen?
I have no idea.
Like, I've known you since you were the most underground humanly possible. You've never changed. You've never made like you got on Kendrick's album. You had these bigger moments that happen. But like, it's almost fascinating that you've ended up getting to all these wild places you've gotten to while never bending your style at all. And there are other great women out there who have done this as well.
Yes.
And just it doesn't seem to have been received in the same way.
I wish I had an answer for that, Ebro. I mean, Rosenberg.
I think it's just time in the game. I think it's consistency over an extended period of time. Like a lot of artists that we meet today, it's rather new. I mean,
and you're unusually nice. I mean, let's also give credit where credit is due. You're an unusually nice rapper. Like your bars are the flamiest of flames. So let me be clear about that. No, you're out here. You can rap your ass off. That's fact. You can rap your ass off.
It's hard for me to look outside and see myself, right? I'm just existing and doing what feels good to me every day. That's how I operate. So for me to see myself through other people I'm still getting used to that, right? But I guess that would be a good point. Just consistency and trying to create art at a high level and to brand myself and put myself in the places that align with what I care about. But I love all women that make space for themselves and do what's authentic to them. My whole thing is just be authentic. Don't ever feel like you have to be pressured into something. And I think that's always been the biggest thing for me is like, do women do it because they want to, whatever it is they doing, or do they do it because they feel like they have to make it? And that's the only thing. Like Cardi B, I know that's authentic to the core. Like I love that. Megan, that's Texas. That looks authentic to the core to me. Like I love that. So it's just like be yourself and make room for different stories of women. But
you guys there's a women's summit going on in Brooklyn, New York at the One Hotel. You're performing over there. The ESPN Women's Summit, New York City. Talk about, like we talked about kind of this idea that this burden is put upon you, but there's the gift part of that too, right?
Yes.
That, is you continuing to get credit for what's important to you. And I'd love to hear from you just on that, stopping to smell those roses every once in a while and knowing that you get your flowers in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the opportunity to shine light on things, right? I never go into anything with any expectation, but it's like, man, if I have the opportunity now and I have the platform, and if this is how people see me and they're going to listen, then, we got Title IX and women in sports. And, I do want to support that because I look at, these women athletes who don't get paid as much as men, who don't get the same support as men, but they're just equally as talented, as entertaining. Like women are dunking now, like, outperform, and look at the soccer team.
This past weekend, the fight at the Garden this past weekend between Serrano and Taylor, these two women put on an absolute slugfest. It was amazing.
And it was the first time, right, that women got paid 6 figures. Seven figures.
7 figures and headlined a massive boxing
at the Garden.
The first time
ever.
In history?
Yes.
A woman athlete has been paid 7 figures?
A boxer.
A boxer.
But yes, it was women's boxing. But that means Layla Ali, Christy Martin, these iconic people did not get 7 figures.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
Right. So, I mean, that's just what it's about for me to take the light that people are doing and be able to shine it on other areas, especially in sports. For right now, what Title IX means, and now we got the Roe versus Wade, like, just to educate people and, to bring awareness, like, think about it, because obviously we always don't stop and think, like, they need support here. Roe versus Wade needs support. So, everything, like you said, goes hand in hand.
What's you've gotten to have so many cool experiences. First of all, is this whole thing, and by that I mean like your hip hop career, has it turned out better than you ever could have imagined? Like, because I always just look up and it's an award show, and there's Rapsody on the red carpet. There's Rapsody performing with her heroes. Every interview we have with an iconic woman in hip-hop, they always reference Rapsody. True. Like, you really have gotten to a space that's pretty amazing. Is it better than you expected?
I don't know. I'm just in it. That's all I know.
You didn't have expectations, maybe?
I had expectations when I was first in it, right, of how it was go, but that thing got zapped really quick. Like, reality set in. I was like, oh.
Well, what was that? What were those initial expectations?
I mean,
to be scorching hot out the gate?
Scorching hot. I wanted to fly cars, a jury, but I wanted to make dope music, and I wanted the music I make, to be able to be experienced by people, decide whether you like it or not. But I don't think I've always had the same platform for my music to be heard in that way. But regardless, I'm happy and I'm thankful because I'm able to create, and I haven't changed. I didn't have to change, and I still could be successful and live life how I want to. So I think that's the thing that, because at one point, I was worried. I was like, I'm going to have to go get a regular job and do something I don't like, but I don't have to do that. So, yeah, it's better than I could imagine, because that could have easily been the case. But, I see those milestones that turn the corner for me, where it's like, that Kendrick one was a big one. That helped turn the corner, and Rock Nation and Ninth from the jump. But yeah, it's been great. But there's still so much more I feel like I have to do and want to experience and grow in.
I'm getting the feeling, though, it's really interesting, that you don't see yourself exactly the way we do.
Yeah,
because I could tell you're like, nah, I want more. I want people to be bumping my shit. Like I want to be, you know what I mean? And to me, I always think of it as like, man, rap is she's such a real one. Look how successful she is. It's hard to be real. You know what I mean? But you look now at Pusha T, who just had his first #1, 44 years old.
That's his first #1?
First #1.
First number
As
one.
a solo artist?
Yes.
Yes. First #1.
Because Clips was #1?
I don't think Clips, no. At that time, I can't imagine Clips
Lord
was
willing?
#1.
I don't know.
That's what I was like,
look.
Lord willing, maybe.
Look that up.
But
I don't think
that's
so.
Still,
He's #1 Billboard overall.
Wow.
Not a rap album. He has the #1 album in the country. And it took him 20 years. He's 44 years old. He never changed his approach. He just kept doing
he's
it.
Still cooking.
So those things that you aspired to before, it doesn't mean those are out of reach either.
Absolutely. And that's the thing that's beautiful, because it was a point where, you felt like at a certain age you couldn't do it, right? Like, and hip hop loves to age us out, but with the help of Busta and Jay-Z and all these legendary artists that continue to create at a high level and show space that, you can still be 40, 50 years old and make music and it still be relatable and, important to the culture. And it's good to see Pusha get that moment and still grow. Like, I put that album on, I was like,
crazy.
S-H-I-T, man, god dang. Like,
he got better.
He got better. Pusha's already here, but he got how, bro? Like, what are we doing? But that inspires me. Like, we never, ever stop growing, ever.
2002, Lord willing, got to #4 on its release on the Billboard 200. It was a #1 R&B and hip-hop album.
Okay.
But it wasn't a #1 overall, which Pusha just got on this last release.
Congrats, Pusha.
It's almost dry. You haven't put out an album in now 3 years?
Somebody tweeted me, it was like, it's been 2 years and 8 months.
Okay.
I was like, okay.
Rapsody, see, I want to play the LaKaylee 47, you and her on that Oprah record off the Eve album.
She killed that joint, man.
Yeah, no, that's crazy record. And shout to LaKaylee 47. She's continuing to put out dope records too if people ain't checked out. Why so long for you from Eve till now? What's going on?
A couple reasons. One, pandemic.
Yeah.
Definitely. I didn't necessarily want to put something out in the middle of pandemic and trying to figure out what that was. Two, just really taking my time, right? Like, I have been moving nonstop for years. Since 2005, I felt like just working. And then, you get the success and you get the tour back to back and interview after interview. And so when pandemic hit, I was one show shy of my last tour. So I got to sit still. And when you sit still, you got to sit with some things. So I just went through a phase. I think what a lot of people went through during pandemic was healing, and recalibrating and getting to know myself again, right? And figuring out who I was, what I wanted to do. So I took that time to do that and figure out what I wanted to say. I started working on 3 albums at one time. That I had so much to say. But, we got our one that we want to start with, and I'm almost done. S1 is helping the executive produce it with me.
And that's coming this year.
Hopefully.
Is Dusted Diamonds a part of it, or this is its own thing?
This is its own thing. And it's good. Like, the last album people heard was Eve, where I got to celebrate women. So before the album comes, just to show like it's always women first with me. It's always been pushing women and to now have that focus on in sports. Because I love basketball, and I think music and sports go hand in hand. But to really put that focus on women and support them through this record in the interim is dope for me.
You there was a record that came out earlier this year. Is that a part of the album?
No Problems?
Yeah, that and Day One Friend.
Oh, that's Robin Thicke's joint.
That's Robin Thicke's record.
Yeah, that's his record. He hit me sometime in 2020 to do that song with him, and I'm glad it finally came out.
Yeah.
That was dope.
You said healing, and I know it was a lot of talk, and rightfully so, and I think it's becoming very commonplace to talk about healing and mental health and dealing with that. You as somebody that we perceive as, you know, knowledgeable and on her square and focused, I'm sure there's aspects, like you said, there's aspects of my life I had to deal with during the pandemic and healing. But talk about also your family too, right? Because are you successful in being this Rapsody person and sharing knowledge and wisdom with family? Because I know I have friends, they're the most knowledgeable, but when it comes to family, don't want to listen to them. Right? Like, get out of here. You trying to kick knowledge? Like, yo, I don't want to hear all that. You know what I'm saying? But people obviously that aren't in your family look to you, you know, for information and just, you know, as a person who is seemingly well put together. Any discoveries during the pandemic that you had to deal with family and healing?
Probably not in that way with family. It was all really internal, right?
Got it.
And it's crazy that you say like somebody that they look to that's always on their square, right? That was one of the biggest things. I was talking with two of my closest friends. They was like, Rap, people got to know you're not perfect. I say, I'm far from perfect. Like, I never thought people thought I was perfect. Like, no, they think you pretty. I was like, ooh, if they only knew. You know, but family is family. They don't care if you Rapsody or whoever, right? So everything I learned, whether it's family or my close friends, you know, I try to share. You know, me and my mom have great conversations. But, you know, the elders, they know what they know. They be like, I ain't trying to hear that. It could be anything, you know, where there's, you know, communication or just, let's eat healthy, right?
Food's the biggest.
Right. I was telling her something about, you know, you got to cut back on the cheese because that's big on inflammation. And she was like, if we listen to that, then I ain't going to be eating nothing.
Really? Cheese goes from cheese to nothing?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I was like that.
A limited amount.
Yeah. But, you know, I share what I can. You know. My biggest ones I've touched are like Ruben Vincent and Nico Brim, who I've been taking under my wing, like young artists. Like we have very, very interesting conversations, you know, just for me to be more experienced in life. And they, you know, they just kind of starting, they in their 20s and really getting into music. So we have really dope conversations. But yeah, you know.
You were on the come up at the same time as both Mac Miller and Nipsey.
Yeah.
You did records with both.
Yeah.
Let's start with Mac. I know you've talked about it before, but what was your experience? Do you remember how you guys first connected? And tell us a little bit about your relationship with Mac Miller.
Absolutely. Twitter was big back in those days. Instagram was whatever, but I don't think it was a thing. But we connected through Twitter, and he came down to Raleigh to do a record with Ninth Wonder. He was like, he wanted to really work with Ninth. So off gate, we became friends. He stayed, I think, 4 or 5 days, him, Tree J, Q, all of them. And I was working on Return of the B-Girl, my very first mixtape ever. And he left, and 2 weeks later, he called to bring me on tour with him, my first tour. Like, to have my first mixtape, and then this kid who has this crazy following, like millions of views on YouTube, takes you on tour. It was an experience. And, you know, that was 2011. And we just have been friends ever since then. Like, you know, we necessarily didn't call each other and talk all the time, but, you know, he texts me every now and again. We get on, he come down to Raleigh, we go to LA, we go to his house. He might send me a tweet like, Rap, what's up? So, you know, he was just a homie, but he was one of my first friends in this business. Like, he was the first one, I think, before Crit, before Kendrick. You know, Mac was the first one that I connected with in my peer group. And he had, you know, one of the biggest first supports of me. Like, a lot of my day one fans are Mac Miller fans.
Because they saw you on that first tour.
They saw me on that tour, and we did this song, Extra, Extra, together, that people still ask me about, you know. So he's monumental just to my life and to my career as an artist. So that was a hit.
I would imagine it was.
Yeah,
And then Nipsey, it was in pretty close proximity. Nipsey happened a year later.
Yeah.
What was your relationship like with Nipsey?
It wasn't as close as with Mac. Nip was more like the J. Cole era, but still, he's still in a peer group.
Right.
But you know, just a homie, always supportive, always there for a good word. Like he was that dude. He was cut from that cloth. Anything you needed, he was good. Last time I saw him was at the Grammy brunch. I think I was somewhere talking to Law, and Nipsey said, "Come here, he want to holler at you." So that was the last time we talked. But yeah, we never were in each other's presence that much. You know, I didn't at that time. I wasn't going to Cali that much, but we did do Never Know. I got to watch him record that. You know, but just a good dude, cut from the cloth. Like I remember his cousin hit me not long after he passed, and he was like, "Man, Nipsey the one that put me on you." I was like, "Stop lying." He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Hey, you got to listen to Rapsody." So yeah, those were two big hits. You know.
Because it's those names people talk about, you know, and they're iconic, and now like when people pass, they become like legends, but they're also just people's friends.
They're people,
you know,
yeah,
and those are two major losses. Yeah.
Rapsody at the ESPN Women's Summit right here in New York City tomorrow on May 4th, the Brooklyn Hotel. I'm sure you got to have some sort of pass or something to get in there.
Yeah, I don't think you can just show up.
I don't think you can just pop up. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted you to know she putting on this Dust to Diamonds project. And now this is a part of a larger initiative too, right? The song is part of a show. Is that right?
A show?
Or it's like a theme song to like a whole...
Yeah, they're doing a documentary about Title IX and women in sports. So, you know, it'll be the theme song for that. But you'll hear it all throughout. You know, I think that this whole year, just in celebration of it, there are a lot of dope initiatives that are going to come up. The summit is, you know, just the beginning. But even if you can't come to the summit, I think the biggest thing is to support women in sports. You know, really go to the games, like, you know, buy the merch, you know, speak up for all women in all arenas. So.
You played sports?
Absolutely.
What'd you play?
Basketball.
So you think you know something about basketball?
Come on. Oh, I see where this is going.
You know where this is
going.
Hey,
I ran
now.
cross country too. You want to talk about that?
Oh, you can run. You's a runner.
Yeah, let's talk cross country.
I'm a track
So you don't want to
star.
talk basketball? How come?
Yo, because I know what you about to be on, you know, but we not talking about that.
It's
We're
old.
talking about the, you know, women in sports.
Well, no, it was a first. So for the audience, the reason she doesn't want to speak about it, and she doesn't have to, is because her team, Duke, did not close out the tournament the way they wanted to. Let's just say it that way.
But we made it to the Final Four. That's a beautiful
It's
thing,
beautiful,
you know?
but not what Coach K probably wanted for his final.
The loss to North Carolina. That's not what you.
That's not what you want.
Man, they killed, man. Not only was the last home game of Cameron with UNC and they mopped us, right? They took us out from getting to the championship game. Like, that's cold-blooded.
That will forever live.
No, it's going to be a thing for. It's going to be tough.
I don't know if
There's not a scenario. I'll put it to you like this: there is not a Duke North Carolina scenario in the future, that in our foreseeable future, that would be bigger than those two moments.
It's going to be around for a while. By the way,
And do you know that UNC handed Coach K his first loss at Duke? His very first loss ever. So it was his very first loss and his very last loss.
Bookended it. That's phenomenal. That's what you want.
Do you and Ninth ever talk about though the irony? I can't. Like you and Ninth are like figures in my mind of like black righteousness. The fact that y'all root for the whitest team,
yeah,
in
but Duke
all
embraced
sports,
black folks before UNC did.
Thank you.
As a school.
Yo, don't give their talking points.
I was just about to say that. Thank you, Ebro.
No, so boom. So the reason,
on
this moment, watching the Final Four, okay, and the reason I added you in Ninth, I think on Twitter because I started it, was because in my brain I like Coach K, like I respect him as a coach.
Yep.
There's been plenty of players that have come from Duke that have been phenomenal basketball players.
Absolutely.
Literally the only reason I could come to that I don't like Duke was because we liked the Running Rebels when I was young, and they was like the black team, and Duke was the white team.
Well,
and that's just visually, but not...
Well, yeah, that's what Bomani did a whole special on his HBO show about this.
Right.
That like Duke took out every black cultural team, like Michigan's Fab Five, Running Rebels, like all these teams.
There was
got
no
taken out.
reason for us to not like Duke.
It was really not. It's not based on that much. I mean, they have things
Your
about them.
premise for not liking Duke is more founded than mine.
Yeah.
You're at you were a Maryland
we
ACC team. You guys were rivals. Like it was a
Yeah, we used to mop y'all.
Except for that one year.
Grant Hill is all like Grant Hill.
Yeah, Grant. Well, listen, I love Grant. You're never going to hear me disparage Grant Hill, but Jay Williams, JJ Redick, these guys, Carlos Boozer.
Indeed. Well, just to end it on some women, we got to talk about Dawn Staley.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dawn Staley.
And she got the 2 championships.
That's right. Women's basketball coach down there in South Carolina.
And we should say happy trails to Vivian Stringer, who just called it a career after 50 years of coaching at Rutgers. Ooh, wow. Yeah, so shouts to the
I didn't know that. She retired?
She retired this weekend. Yeah.
Man, Rucker women is hard.
Yep.
And Pat Summitt was the one.
Yo, and shouts to Pat Summitt, too. R.I.P.
I think before she passed, did she have the most wins before Coach K?
Yeah, I think Pat Summitt, I think she did.
Yeah?
She was iconic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's next
That's
level.
what we doing.
Pat
Look,
Summers,
Title IX.
Let's
Dust the
support
Diamonds.
Dust the Diamonds.
Do we have
Women
the
in
song?
Sports.
Is it?
I got the song on my phone.
Boom. We're going to play the song. Play the song, Dust the Diamonds. New Rapsody right here. It's Ebro, Laura Rosenberg. We love you.
Love you, Rap.
y'all, man.
Love you.
Thank
All
you.
right, come back for that album when the album's ready.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Almost.